The ego plays a stupid game to win a stupid prize. Ego doesn't fail, it succeeds at something worthless. When I say the ego plays a stupid game to win a stupid prize, this is what it means. The ego is not trying to harm you. It is not your enemy. It is not broken. It is simply engaged in a game that has no value. The game is this: be someone, be recognized, be superior, be secure in the eyes of others. The price it promises: relief, safety, inner rest. Now look carefully, not emotionally, not philosophically. Has that price ever been delivered? No. Even when the ego wins, respect is gained, recognition appears, superiority is established. What follows is not peace. What follows is vigilance, comparison, fear of loss, the need to defend the position, so the ego succeeds, but at nothing that matters. That is why it is worthless. Ego does not fail at its job. It does its job perfectly. Its job is to create a sense of me, position that me in the world, keep that me relevant. But relevance is not reality, it is noise. You think the ego is excessive. It is not. It is unnecessary. When the ego is absent, intelligence does not disappear, action does not stop, clarity does not weaken, life does not collapse, only narration stops. So, what was the ego contributing? Nothing essential. The reason the ego feels powerful is because you believe its claim: without me, you will be nothing. But observe, when the ego is quiet, you are not nothing. You are simply not preoccupied with yourself. That is freedom. The ego keeps playing because it has never been seen clearly. Once it is seen, not as evil, not as sinful, not as something to destroy, but as a mechanism solving no real problem, the game loses its attraction. You don't quit the game, you lose interest in it. And when interest is gone, effort is no longer required. This is the final point. Understand this. Peace is not achieved by improving the self. Peace appears when the self stops interfering. The ego is interference. It does not need to be silenced. It does not need to be fought. It simply needs to be seen for what it is: a successful solution to a problem that never existed. That is the end of it. The ego is not arrogance. The ego is hunger. Not hunger for money, not hunger for sex, not hunger for validation, but hunger for existence. I must matter. I must be someone. I must be seen. When that hunger is triggered, especially around relatives, peers, people who mirror your past, the self activates. The body tightens. The mind starts rehearsing. Do you know who I am? Look how disciplined I am. See how far I have come. This is not you doing it. This is the identity mechanism defending itself. Why the gym triggers it? The gym is dangerous territory for the ego. Why? Because progress is visible, discipline is measurable, superiority is almost provable. So the mind whispers, this is evidence, use it. The ego loves proof, but here's the trap. Every time you use progress to reinforce identity, you strengthen the very thing you say you want to dissolve. That's why you feel restless, not satisfied. Winning an ego game never calms the nervous system. It sharpens the blade. Why the ego keeps begging? This is critical. Listen slowly. The ego begs because it is not real. Anything real does not beg. Anything real does not need confirmation. Anything real does not need witnesses. The ego is a story trying to stay alive. Stories survive by comparison, memory, projection, recognition. So it says, let them know. Don't be invisible. Assert yourself. Not because it's powerful, but because it's fragile. The illusion you must see, not fight. You're trying to mute the self. That itself is another self project. You don't dissolve the ego by opposing it. You dissolve it by seeing it as unnecessary. The ego only exists in relation to others. Notice, alone in nature, ego weak. With relatives, ego loud. With status comparison, ego screaming. Why? Because ego is relational fiction. It cannot exist by itself. The most important insight for you: you are not trying to win ego battles. You are trying to secure your place in the psychological world. That world is imaginary. It has rankings, respect ladders, unspoken scoreboards, but none of it exists outside the mind. And here's the brutal truth. Even if you win every ego battle, you will still wake up tomorrow as someone who needs to win again. That's hell, not failure. Success in ego terms is hell. What actually weakens the ego, not strengthens it, not affirmations, not humility performances, not spiritual language, only this non participation. When the impulse arises to assert, to impress, to be known, don't suppress it, don't justify it, don't spiritualize it. Just see it as, the identity wants food, and don't feed it. No inner commentary, no resistance, no acting it out. Starvation works because the ego has no independent energy source. You don't need to destroy the ego, you just need to stop mistaking it for you. When that mistake loosens, the nervous system calms on its own. Not because you achieved peace, but because nothing is left that needs defending. So, the right question to ask is not how do I get rid of ego, but how do I see that it is unnecessary? I'll go step by step. Listen slowly. Don't agree, look. First, see what ego actually promises. The ego is not random, it makes a very specific promise. If I am important, I will be at ease. That's the deal. Status is safety. Recognition is relaxation. Being someone is inner rest. Now ask yourself, not philosophically, factually, after asserting yourself, do you relax? After being respected, does the mind go silent? After winning a comparison, does rest appear? No, it briefly spikes and then tightens again. This is not a moral failure, this is evidence. The promise is false. Anything that claims to give peace but cannot deliver it is unnecessary. Notice when ego is absent and nothing is lost. This is the key illusion breaker. There are moments in your life where you are walking, lifting, swimming, alone, focused. In those moments, no identity narration, no me, no my journey, no my discipline. Question: are you less alive there or more? You are more precise, more grounded, more calm, more real. So observe carefully. When ego disappears, nothing essential disappears with it. Breathing continues, strength continues, awareness continues, intelligence continues. So, what exactly was the ego contributing? Nothing. That is the illusion. Ego only exists when comparison exists. Now, look closely. Does ego appear when there is no audience? No. Does ego appear when nobody needs to know? No. Does ego appear when there is no measuring? No. This tells you something crucial. Ego is not an internal necessity, it is a social reflex. It exists only to position you in an imaginary hierarchy. Ask, where is this hierarchy located? Can you touch it? Does it exist when you are alone? No. You are trying to protect your position in a map that is not the territory. That's why it's unnecessary. See the cost clearly. This dissolves attachment. Ego is not neutral. Every time it activates, muscles tighten, breath shortens, mind rehearses, presence fractures. Now ask a brutal question. What real problem in my life has ego ever solved? Did it improve sleep, improve health, improve clarity, improve love, improve depth? Or did it only create movement without resolution? When something adds tension, adds noise, adds restlessness, and solves nothing, it doesn't need to be defeated. It needs to be abandoned. Why you keep going back? This is important. You might think, if it's so useless, why does it keep coming? Because ego is old conditioning, not choice. It formed when approval meant safety, being unseen felt dangerous, respect equal to survival. The body learned, I must be someone, or I might not belong. That mechanism protected you once, but protection mechanisms don't retire automatically. They retire when they are seen as obsolete, not when they are attacked. The exact moment of dissolution. Watch this. Next time ego arises, do nothing heroic. Just notice the sequence in real time. A tightening in the chest phase, a thought, they should know, a subtle urge to assert. Now, here is the seeing. Ask internally, very simply, what exactly will be added to this moment if I act on this? Not what story improves, not how I look, what is actually added. More tension, more narrative, more future defense. Nothing essential. When that is seen clearly, the impulse weakens on its own. Not because you suppressed it, but because the mind doesn't waste energy on what it sees as pointless. The deepest illusion. You think ego is about becoming more. It is not. Ego is about fear of disappearing. But look, when ego is absent, you don't disappear. Intelligence remains, awareness remains, action remains. So, what was at risk? Nothing. That's the final crack. One sentence to sit with. Ego is not something you must drop. It is something you stop funding once you see it buys nothing. When this seeing deepens, the self doesn't die. It simply stops interrupting life. So, the ego was never the problem. Believing it was necessary was. It did not need to be destroyed, improved, or managed. It only needed to be seen clearly. Once it was seen that the ego solves no real problem, there was nothing left to argue with. Life did not collapse without it. Intelligence remained, action remained, only self interference ended. The game did not need to be won, it simply stopped being worth playing. And in that non participation, the nervous system settled. Not because peace was achieved, but because nothing imaginary was left to defend.